But for me, the mere strength of the console was something that just blew me away as soon as I started working with it.
What is going on, guys? Dealer back again with yet another video, bringing you a developer interview that many of you didn't see, but those of you who did have messaged me over and over about this, asking me to cover this. So I figured, hey, like my last video, I will bring it straight to you. No doubting the source, no debate, right from the developer. Everything linked down below. I encourage you guys to support the original source. And as always, if you end up enjoying this video, hit that like button, show a buddy or two, spread the word about the amazing capability here, and subscribe for the latest and greatest. By the way, I have to give a big, massive shout out to today's video sponsor, ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN protects you against hackers, protects your online activity, and can even help you when gaming. Why should you consider ExpressVPN? Simple. Sending data over an unencrypted internet connection is like sending out a postcard. Your information is wide open for anybody to see. ExpressVPN not only fixes this problem, but actually protects you against hackers as a result. ExpressVPN also gives you unrestricted access to the entire internet, not just what your region wants you to see. How do they do that, you ask? Well, it's quite simple. They mask your IP and route your data through their servers, which do not maintain any of the information themselves. When you are done, that data leaves with you, your activity, all traces of it disappear. They are the top-rated VPN provider from CNET, Wired.com, TechRadar, and many more. Personally, I've been trying ExpressVPN with gaming, getting into different lobbies that I might have had trouble connecting to before because of the different regions. Again, find out how to get 3 months free at expressvpn.com/dealer. Link in the description down below. Again, if you guys enjoy the 4K quality here, all of the high quality assets, all that stuff costs money. Sponsors like that help a lot to cover that. Shout out to them. Shout out to you guys for rocking out, supporting a video like this. Hit that link down below. And shout out to Major Nelson, who did this interview with a Dirt 5 Series X developer. Encourage you to support the original source. That link is down below, but we've got all of the breakdowns right here. Keep in mind, this developer has won a very, very deep technical insight. He has spent almost all of his career behind the development of engines and games technology, the things that make games look great. Now, first and foremost, I want to show you guys the good stuff, the stuff on Xbox Series X performance in regards to CPU power, GPU power, them achieving 120 frames per second, something many still say will never happen on next generation hardware, along with their ultra fast quote-unquote SSD. Another developer talking about the immense speed of Xbox Series X NVMe SSD. On top of that, this developer, who is the creative director of the game, is blown away by the CPU performance of the new console.
But for me, the mere strength of the console was something that just blew me away as soon as I started working with it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that isn't talked about as much about Series X is simultaneous multi-threading. So that's not one of those sexy features like ray tracing that people are going to talk about on their blog posts the most. But the CPU is a beast.
Yeah.
It really is a beast. And you have to have the right engine that's geared up to make use of that many processors, and we're fortunate enough to be in a position that we do. So when I enabled that feature, Dirt 5 just sprang to life on Series X. It was amazing. I called people over from across the office, come and check this out.
Right.
Because it was running amazing straight away. So all of the features, we've talked a little about 120 hertz.
Yeah, 120 or 120 frames per second, right? Right, 120 frames per second.
Yeah, 120 frames per second. Now that's a challenge, and a lot of people were very surprised that we were able to talk about that. That means that you need to hit a frame rate where the frame has to be rendered in under 8.3 milliseconds, which is very quick. There's going to have to be some compromises to make it to 120 hertz, because obviously we've got an incredibly beautiful game at 60 frames per second on Series X.
Right. How
are we going to make it be just as fun at half the time, 120 frames per second? But of course, we'll be supporting new HDMI 2.1 features that are in Series X, like FreeSync 2. Variable rate shading is on the GPU as well, but variable refresh rates, and of course, everything that comes along with the new visual improvements. Yeah.
Now, as you heard, he is absolutely floored by the performance of the new box, and not only that, how fast it actually got there. When he was talking about it's hard to take advantage of that many processors, meaning CPU threads. 16 threads is the mode they are using for Dirt 5. If you recall, there are two different CPU modes in the Series X, one running at 3.8 GHz locked with 8, and the other running at 3.6 GHz locked at 16 threads. These guys are rocking the 16 thread application there, and apparently this engine is best optimized for that. That's actually why there are two separate modes, because some engines right now do not really scale well to more than 8 threads, while others are the opposite. Now, he did talk about 120 frames per second as well. You will see this on many titles, more than I think people believe, especially first-party output. Long story short, when he's talking about compromising on the original version of Dirt 5 to hit 120 FPS, by that he's saying, look, we're not going to be able to run this game at 4K and 120. We will have to compromise to get that up to 120. We will have to cut down on the resolution somehow, or certain effects perhaps.
I think it's important to point out, and I'll link off to the YouTube, the trailer on YouTube, on the Xbox channel on YouTube. But with Dirt 5, I mean, you've got this amazing CPU, because and you kind of alluded to it earlier. With next gen, it's not just about fast read-write speed, which of course Xbox Series X had, but it's the entire, as engineers would say, the pipeline, right? It's making sure the CPU and all of these things are there to really give this next gen experience. So it's really important to look at all parts of the puzzle. Would you say that that's accurate?
Oh, completely. And even then, it's not as simple as just the NVMe drive in Series X is fast. And oh boy, is it fast. What am I going to do with the other pieces of the puzzle as well? So we can have data using hardware decompression. So we compress our data like textures and things like that while we're building the game at the office and writing that to your disk. And that means that we can decompress it in the hardware as it's loaded basically for free. Right. So that means I can get even faster throughput than what the NVMe drive can deliver. So it's a beast. I've got no other way of putting it. It's really, really fast. But yeah, that means that we're able to deliver better, more beautiful experiences than we could before.
Yeah. And
that excites me. That I'm thinking, now that I have all of these tools laid out for me on the table, how do I make use of all of these features to deliver an amazing video game, an amazing experience for the gamers?
You know, one question I get asked a lot, but I'm not a developer, so I won't even answer it. I'm not nowhere near qualified like you. But what is it like developing on Xbox Series X?
Sure. So anytime new hardware comes out, it's usually a very, very painful experience. When hardware shows up, it's usually half finished, or it crashes a lot, and the API, the programming tools that we use, then usually not finalized, or even worse, they can suddenly change halfway through development.
Right.
And so suddenly you're having to pivot really quickly. But actually, Series X has been a very smooth experience. So Microsoft have developed something that they call the Game Development Kit, which is a new replacement, and actually is going to be utilized on original Xbox One and Xbox One S and Xbox One X. And that's how everything is going to be developed together, a unified product development, all the way from Xbox One up to Series X, but making the most of the hardware features across the board. But there are actually benefits to that as well. So an Xbox One game that was developed before now could now perform better if it was made with the new Game Development Kit. It also has the ability to make use of low latency input, which is really, really important for a racing game. So having familiar tools, having a familiar interface, super important. So it's been a really smooth transition for us at Cheshire Studio making Dirt 5.
This part of the video is very interesting because he seems to gush over this apparently slow quote-unquote SSD, while simultaneously crushing every single fanboy on Twitter. The reality of the situation is this thing is capable of hitting almost 5 gigabytes per second. They use that hardware compression and decompression block to send assets into the RAM in a super quick manner. This way they can actually store live game assets in that SSD, or rather draw them using virtual memory, and with the power of the extremely high I/O output, output and input of the Xbox Series X, the amount of speed the data carries through the box, they can actually increase levels of detail over traditional drives today. Though the CPU, GPU, etc. are the ones pumping out all those pixels and graphical effects. Either way, he seems extremely impressed, and I'd like to know your thoughts about that down below. I also know there's a certain group out there trying to downplay the drive and the technology in this box. Of course, here we have proof right here. Feel free to use it. To conclude, the developer talks about options like ray tracing, etc., making its way to Xbox Series X, and of course, the smart delivery functionality and how everyone should be doing what Microsoft are doing here.
When you look at the features that we've announced, what are some of the other ones that get you excited, especially Dirt 5? Is it ray tracing? Because that's something that a lot of folks are excited about.
Yeah, a lot of people want to talk about ray tracing.
Yeah.
So as a team, we're looking at everything. I can't commit to everything yet, Larry, but and ray tracing is one of those features.
Yeah.
I can't commit to everything, but we're definitely looking into everything.
Right.
With Xbox Series X. So smart delivery allows us to say, hey, you want to buy Dirt 5 on your Xbox One. When you upgrade to Series X, whenever that may be launch day, it may be a year after, you'll have Dirt 5. It will be there. You'll get it, the Series X experience. It will just upgrade for free. You'll get all of those great hardware benefits. You'll get the rendering upgrades, the performance, everything. It will just come over, and your save will come too. You'll still be able to play with the friends that you'd made on Xbox One. Everybody plays together. That's it. It's as simple as that.
I agree. It is as simple as that. So I'd like to know your thoughts down below. What do you think about the developer's statements on performance? For me, two highlights stand out. CPU performance, 16 threads in Dirt 5, 120 FPS. The speed at which they got the game running. The ease of development. The tools that they are able to use here that actually maintain the same consistency for development. And the fact that he is extremely impressed by the SSD in this box and calls it extremely quick multiple times. Again, let me know your thoughts down below. If you happen to like the video, maybe hit the like button and share it to a buddy too. It really helps quite a bit. Subscribe for the latest and greatest. And shout out once more to ExpressVPN for sponsoring this video. Again, it helps a lot, especially in times like this, especially when I'm spending a lot of money on the channel, stuff like that. It all helps go back into and feed back into the content. You guys powering the videos, watching them, all that stuff, especially the channel members, the patrons. Shout out to all of you guys for what you do. You are the reason we are where we are. So again, until the next one, I'm Dealer. I'm out.